Shut up and sit down.
Oh, hello and welcome to a North Wales side-by-side video. As I explained in the video about aftermarket parts and the brackets on these Padget cables that don't fit, I thought I'd show you the Padget bracket. That's the Padget bracket. And that's the bracket on the brake line. And as you can see here, the holes do not line up. That's why you can't use that Padget bracket on this cable. Does not fit. That's why you have to transpose the Toyota bracket onto the cable. There's the Toyota bracket on the other cable, and there's the rubber boot I was talking about. That's the Toyota rubber boot that goes through into that hole there on the car. I haven't taken off the boot on this Padget cable, it's still on the cable. I'm going to leave that one on, I can't be bothered taking it off. But on the other cable, we've taken it off. And I'm now going to fit that cable onto the car. The other mod I've done is, instead of using a bolt to hold the cable there, I've used a stud, an M8 stud, and a flange nut, which is how I'm going to locate the cable there. Because the bolts I've got that came out were so rusted and so manky, I'm not putting them back on. The stud will be fine. So let's feed this cable up. I'll get it in, I'll get it up, and I'll show you it fitted. So, I'm going to fit the new cable now. I'll show you when I've fitted it. So we've got the genuine Toyota boot fitted. We've got the bracket that supports the handbrake cable and the brake line fitted. We've got bracket number 2, which sits at the side of the fuel tank, fitted. We have another bracket to put onto the car that fits between here and here, which will bolt on there. So them are now fastened. Technically now I'm ready to put the fuel tank back into this car. There's nothing stopping me putting the fuel tank back in. We're ready to go. I'll just show you in the car now and prove to you, having taken off the nipples and give them a good, they both now fit easily. Both of them went in very, very easily. They're fitted, they're clamped in, we're buttoned up on the inside of the car as far as the handbrake cable is concerned. That bit's done. So I can now think about sliding this freshly painted fuel tank back into the car. But before I do that, them are the 2 brackets that I want to fit next. They're going back under the car to support the handbrake cable. So I'm going to do them next. I'll show you them once I've got them fitted as well. Right, we've got fuel tank back in. Cables just need tightening up on the brackets. Water pipe's reconnected up and fastened to its bracket. All the bolts are in the fuel tank. It's bolted up. That went in very easy. You sort of slide the passenger side up and over the water pipe, then put the vent hose on from the hole on the inside where the fuel pump goes, then slide and locate one of the bolts just to support it, and just work your way around the 4 bolts, and it goes in really easy. Having the ramp there to support the bottom of the tank whilst I was doing it saves you having to try and hold the tank up. So you've got to have some sort of support for the tank whilst you're putting it up. You've got no choice. It's not that it's heavy, it's just an awkward shape. Right, I need to put the fuel pump back in now. So I've got to get that back in there and everything connected up, and then all I've got to do is put the handbrake cables onto the calipers. But let's button this up first. Next job is this. Right, I'm all buttoned up in here. All the fuel pipes are back on the fuel tank. Electrical connectors are on. Fuel pump's back in. The cover's back on. Other than putting the trim back here, my next job is reconnect the handbrake cables at the calipers. But I can't do that at this present moment in time because the brackets are on the floor there, drying under the diesel heater, which only leaves me one more job to do, which is fit that bracket back underneath the car, which is what I'm going to do now. And then I'm buttoned up, we're done, and I can have a tidy up in the workshop. I can get rid of that pile of rubbish on the floor there, because that's all scrap. It's old air conditioning pipes and all the old water hoses, the 2 old brake cables, they can all go in the scrap pile. I didn't use them 2 brackets there, they were actually on the fuel tank, because I'm not putting any of the plastic splash guards back underneath the car, and there's a good reason why. They trap the dirt and they cause the corrosion. Without having them on, I can get everywhere to clean, and eventually I'm going to lanyard guard the entire underneath of this car. So last job to do now is go underneath and do that bracket that's hanging up, and then I'm calling it quits for this afternoon. Probably come back in later tonight, put the brackets on, fasten the handbrake cables onto the calipers, wherever the pins are. Oh, there they are. I'm quite well organised. I keep everything in old aerosol lids, so I know where all the bolts go. That's an empty one. That was all the fuel tank bolts. That's finished with. That one's got a few trim clips left in it, but they're off the splash guards. That one's empty. That's got 2 spare bolts for the fuel pump, because I've used all new ones, and 2 of the old ones. In fact, no, I lost one of the old ones I did have 4 of them, so I've used 1 of them, got 2 left. I need to find, I'm not using these little silly things, I need to find some split pins for these, which I think, yep, we got plenty of split pins, we'll be okay there. Yeah, we're okay for split pins. So, I'm going to put that on now. Right, until I get the wheels off the floor, I can only make an assumption that the handbrake works. I've got both handbrake cables now connected to the brand new calipers. They are bled. The handbrake's on at the moment. Everything's fastened on, everything's where it should be. Everything under here is back on the car. I've just got a little bit of free play in that cable, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm struggling for the 8th click. And them cables have pulled quite evenly. Not 100% even, but I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. But they're both moving and they're both returning, and the calipers are both returning to their stops. So all I've got left is interior. What a job. What a job. So yep, bins have got to go back in, doors have got to go back on. There's the other bin. Then I've got to button up the front, put all the trim back in the front. Slowly I'm getting there. I also need to put some fuel back in the car. The fuel tank's absolutely empty at the moment, so until I've got some fuel, I'm not connecting the battery because I don't want to run the fuel pump dry. But I think that's the last of the big jobs on MR2. It's all little niggly stuff now, just tidying things up. We're getting there. Hey, thanks for watching.